Hello everyone and welcome back to fantasyfootballfix.com, the #1 platform to help you improve your overall rank by building your essential team value and also give you the best chance of winning your mini leagues in the process. I'm your host FPL Phillips and welcome back to another in our daily price change series where we cover all the latest in price rises and price fallers in the world of FPL. So without further ado, let's get into it and help you price change your way into that top 10k. And here we are then in the Fix studio. We can have a look at some of the price rises and price fallers of note today. I've actually starred a few on the side if you can see it, but I will read it out as well. There's also the players on the graphics around me that you can take a look at, which are very interesting to note the players' rising progress and also their rising rate per hour, all those important stats that we have to look at. SMITH-ROWE, Livramento and Salah were ones who could potentially have risen yesterday, but they are now over the 100% progress threshold, which they didn't quite reach last night, which makes them much more likely to rise tonight on the Wednesday. So SMITH-ROWE, Livramento and Salah there, with Foden now entering the frame. He's only at 99.6% progress, but rising at 0.1% per hour should and could make him in line for a price tonight. But we, again, not 100% certainty there, as price changes are not an exact science, and we can't 100% read what FPL are going to do. If you scroll down a little bit as well, we can see that Sa and Son are towards the bottom there. Son isn't actually a faller, he's just rising tomorrow, and I've got it set to actual sort by change time. Ismail Sarr is down there as well, and a lot of people looking to remove him, kind of myself included, from our teams this week. And so with SMITH-ROWE going up, perhaps tonight, if you're looking to make a move in the next couple of weeks where you're within 0.2 of it, or something along those lines, maybe tonight may be worth the risk of taking an early transfer. But always, I tend to recommend against that if you can. And sometimes it's worth it just to bite the bullet and wait for some more information, because you'll never forget it when there's that one time where you make the early transfer and it doesn't pay off and it backfires. So not much to note, but we'll get into some of the deeper statistics and underlying stats for some of these players that are rising or going down tonight. And here we are inside one of my favourite tools on the Fix website, and that is the player comparison matrix, where we can have a look at up to 5 players very deep in terms of stats. And there's now a new feature where you can show average per game, which is a brilliant feature, and we'll add in some stats for some of these players. We can change the start game week around as well, which makes it very interesting to see and compare players throughout the last couple of game weeks if you want to, or throughout the entire season so far. So we can select some statistics for these players that I've lined in. I've gone with Foden, Gallagher, Smith-Rowe, Mbeumo and Rafinha. I really wanted to compare Gallagher, Smith-Rowe and Mbeumo together, and I had a bit of a look in the Optistats matrix earlier. It gives me a bit of an idea, but I thought this would be a very useful tool, and I've thrown Foden in there as a potential riser tonight as well, despite the fact he is a bit more expensive, obviously. Touches in the opposition box is one I always like to look at, and no surprises that Foden is leading the charge there with only 5.8 touches in the opposition box per game. Well, not only, that's quite a nice total compared to SMITH-ROWE's 2.8. So a lot of people looking to bring in SMITH-ROWE with a rise. However, he's the last out of all those 5 players for touches in the opposition box. He does seem to have a tendency to arrive at the perfect moment, and he seems to have great awareness and football intelligence on when to time his runs. That is something of note, which you'll never be able to show in statistics, and FPL Raptor mentioned it in a video the other day that I saw, which I thought was a really fantastic insight into that. We can also look at some of the other important stats in terms of attacking and going forward. We can look at FPL assists per game. We can look at expected stats too, if we can find those. But FPL assists per game, we've got Gallagher leading the charge there. And Mbeumo and Rafinha yet to register, but it does seem to be the Gallagher. So yeah, Gallagher leading that charge. The Crystal Palace man leading with 4.4 assists per game. So nice stat there in favour of the Crystal Palace man. Attempted assist is always another very interesting one when we're looking at these kind of creative players and midfielders in particular. And very interesting to see that although he's on 0.0 for FPL assists so far this season, it's the Brazilian Rafinha who leads the way with 2.0 in that regard. In second place is going to be SMITH-ROWE with 1.5, and then Gallagher with 1.4, all ahead of Foden with 1.3. So perhaps we're looking at more of a goal threat for Phil Foden, and in that case we can add in some stats in regards to going forward and actually getting shots on target. So we got a lot of goals section here where we can add in some of the stats from this. So we can have shots on target. Let's have a look at shots first of all. Rafinha once again leading the way there, so it's not perhaps what you would expect, and once again Foden is behind all of Rafinha, SMITH-ROWE and Gallagher for this statistic, shots per game, and he's not actually in the running for so much of a goal threat. If we look at shots on target though, that's always interesting to see where the players who are taking the amount of shots they are actually converting those chances and working the goalkeeper. So let me just find it here. You can see shots on target, there it is. Phil Foden, there we go. He's looked very, very clinical, and 1.5 shots on target. So it's a very good ratio of shots on target to shots per game. Other players, like SMITH-ROWE, are looking like a bit of a poorer ratio. It's looking like, who have we got here? It was Mbeumo, sorry, who has got the 2.4 shots, but he's only at 0.6. So he's actually last in terms of shots on target. With shots, he's at 2.4. Woodwork has played a factor in that, with Mbeumo hitting the post 6 times, I think, so far this season. It may even be more now, but incredible statistic either way there for the Frenchman. And yeah, it's very interesting to see some of those statistics, and I'll wrap it up here because that's definitely an interesting comparison and a bit of a deeper dive. Overall conclusion then is, would I be looking to offload Foden first of all for someone like a Son? I'm not 100% sold. I think if you had Havertz and else moving into game week 12, that would be the man that I was looking to upgrade to Heung-min Son, and I'm sure many others will be. I'd be tempted to hang on for Foden over through those next couple of bit rough fixtures, get to game week 14 with him, and hopefully those brilliant fixtures will breed some exceptional form for Foden. But he's already been in great form, so there's not really anything that needs changing with Foden, as the saying goes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Amongst the other 4 midfielders, it's interesting to see that Rafinha's stats still look pretty decent. I've compared them with Bamford on and off the pitch, and it's no surprise to see that Rafinha does perform a bit worse with Bamford not playing. In terms of the other 3, with SMITH-ROWE, Gallagher and Mbeumo, who many people are deciding between, including myself, for a Sarr replacement, it's very, very, very tight. We've obviously got SMITH-ROWE leading a lot of the stats there between the 3, including shots on target, including FPL assists per 90 or per game, and also touches in the opposition box. He's in second behind Mbeumo, and he's in second also for shots per game as well behind Mbeumo. So in terms of goal threat, Mbeumo as an outward position midfielder is probably the number 1 to go for. It's whether you take into account your eye test and things along those lines and think that SMITH-ROWE is the better option due to that, because statistics at the end of the day can only show you so much. So let's move in to our second part of the video now. So instead of boring you all with another comparison between a player who's actually going up tonight, like a Livramento, who we covered yesterday, no point comparing Salah at this point. Realistically, everyone should have him in their teams. Instead, we're looking at a player who's going up and could rise if he increases in rate tonight, if small chance. But Son most likely will probably rise tomorrow, so don't panic if you're looking to get Son in. You can still wait it out with relative confidence. And most specifically, I wanted to compare him to Harry Kane, as the two are looking to be lined up in a forward 2 for Antonio Conte. But we do want to take into consideration still, although a new manager's coming in, how they have performed so far this season and the differences between them in terms of statistics. And we can see that with the player heat maps comparison tool over at fantasyfootballfix.com. As always, links are in the description for those. And we can see the heat maps are very interesting. Son on corners is one thing to note, but overall his heat map seems to be coming a lot in the final third, and he's getting a lot of touches on the ball in this range. He's had 24 shots to Kane's 19, which is very cool that it shows you the stats as well. And position-wise, not too much to separate the two of them at all. Attempted assists, Son with 10 more than Kane. So a number of those have come from corners, as you can see from the map. And we've also got an average position we can show, which does show Son slightly more advanced than Kane, which is something very interesting to see, and something I imagine that will continue in that front 2 in Conte's famous 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 formation, whatever you want to call it. I really like looking at these stats that you can scroll down and have a look at as well. In terms of total statistics, you can see those too, and also average statistics per 90, which I find very useful and are used by a lot of managers who do very well so far. So, Heung-min Son, in terms of goals, expected goals and shots, leads the way by quite some margin as well. Expected goals, 0.46 to 0.12 in terms of per 90 minutes. So this is evened out. And this is with penalties added in. So it's not even no penalty XG, because Kane hasn't had a penalty so far this season anyway, but that would boost it up a little bit if Spurs were to get a penalty, but they've looked so poor that they're not even with a chance of earning them. Expected goals, again, quite a significant chunk of difference, as is with the shots, but Kane does lead the way for shots on target per 90, so perhaps he just hasn't been as clinical as he's been looking. Of course, shots on target to contribute towards XG, so interesting to see that there. And shots in the box, it's Son who leads the way. So Kane's been having some efforts. He's probably been getting some long-distance efforts on target. I can remember a few of them myself, but whether that contributes too much towards statistics, we're knowing to note there. Goal assists, 0.12 to 0.11, so very tight, but Kane does look the slightly better creative force, beating Son in goal assists, expected assists, and big chances created, again, all per 90. But attempted assists, it's Son who's there, and corners will contribute to that a fair chunk, and crosses, 0.11 to Kane's 0. So he's not put in a cross so far this season, or if he has, he's not been enough to actually get him from the benchmark, a negligible 0.00. In terms of overall conclusion from that and who would I bring in out of the two, Son and Kane, I think it does depend on your team structure, and I've been saying this quite a bit. If it's a headache to get in Heung-min Son and you have to move your team around and everything like that, then I wouldn't do. But a lot of people are sat on someone like a Havertz who, if you've got a bit in the bank or you can make one downgrade elsewhere, could be very useful to do that if you can afford it with 2 free transfers. Getting a hit, I think, it also could be worth it. But if you're stuck on another premium striker, say you're still holding Lukaku right now and you haven't had a chance to get rid of him, moving to Kane could be a very nice punt for the next couple of weeks, and especially after game week 12, where the fixtures for these two are absolutely fantastic, with a quality manager now coming in to manage that Spurs side. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you haven't already subscribed to the Fix channel, make sure you do that bottom right hand corner. You can also smash a thumbs up on the video if you have enjoyed it, and as mentioned at the start, I'll try and get back to any comments that are left down below by peeps. So thank you everyone. I'm going to go off for my birthday meal now, so yeah, I hope you have all enjoyed the video tonight, and I will catch you later in the next one. Eddie versus the algorithm coming soon. Friday deadline, remember, so I'll be out before then. Don't miss the deadline yourselves. For a quick reminder of that, it's always useful to know. I'll catch you guys in a bit. Goodbye.